In this week's video, we're going to convince you that you don't need medical insurance. What? Stay tuned. Where are we?
We are still on a cruise. I know it doesn't look like we're on a cruise to Greenland, but trust me, we're on a cruise.
So I'm Chris. This is Steve. We're with Eat, Walk, Learn. We are full-time nomads who travel the world full-time. Full-time nomads who travel the world full-time. There's redundancy. But anyway, we're full-time nomads who travel the world full-time. And we're We're here to share with you another episode in our series, Your Nomad Adventure Starts Here. The purpose of this series is to help you who are you nomad curious, you're nomad launched, or you're nomad lifer, you're somewhere in the nomad sphere, that you can either help people or you know people who want to launch, and this is information to help all of us do all those things. So one of the questions that we get the most is what do you do for medical insurance? What do you do for healthcare? What do you do for wellness? All these things. So we started off this video with, you don't need medical insurance. Why would we say that?
Well, you know, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that as you travel around the world, you find out that sometimes medical insurance just isn't needed, that you can get a great deal on very high quality medical services around the world. It's not like the US where you have to have insurance, otherwise you're going to go bankrupt. And you might go bankrupt with insurance.
Right. So the point being that you can pay out of pocket for a lot of medical care around the world. So we're going to, and okay, first of all, we don't sell insurance. We're not insurance people. We're not legal. We're not lawyers, you know, all those disclaimers. And we do carry medical insurance. So let us kind of really talk through what that means. So first of all, Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you, it's like, well, travel insurance
Right.
is the same thing as medical insurance.
No.
Right?
So there are three different types of insurance we're going to talk about. First is travel insurance. Now, a lot of people get confused about what travel insurance is. We're going to make this very simple for you. If you have some sort of medical or health insurance at home, maybe through your employer, you have Obamacare, you have Medicare, you have some kind of health insurance in the United States at home, when you travel, that insurance usually does not follow with you. Now, the main purpose of a travel insurance plan is really just to get you back to the U.S. in case you have an emergency abroad. Like, what would be an emergency abroad?
Oh, yeah, you break a leg.
Yeah, or you have a heart attack, or something, something disastrous that obviously you're not planning. It's not a chronic illness. It's just, it happened. You need to get back to the U.S. to get stabilized, and then when you get back to the U.S., your medical insurance or your health insurance at home would then take over and get you back to wellness.
Right.
Some things that they throw in with travel insurance often is, baggage insurance, lost baggage insurance, delayed flights, that type of thing, which is also nice to have, but is not the main reason why you would get, unless maybe you're trying to catch a cruise and you're concerned that your flight might get delayed or something. That's another good reason to have travel insurance. One place you can get travel insurance without having to actually buy a policy is through your credit card. Steve's like, what? So often your credit cards will have travel insurance as part of a benefit. Our Chase Sapphire has it. We'll put a link in the description below if you want to check that out a little bit further. A lot of travel credit cards have this. So double check, read all the fine print. They have interesting ways of describing what a trip is. So just make sure that it would cover you if you in fact do need it.
Yeah, and I think the point is that don't assume that you have travel insurance, that means that you're going to have a full medical coverage policy. What we're trying to say is, no, that's not the case. And it's going to just stabilize you. It's really not going to provide you the medical care that you may need.
And some of those travel insurance policies have an additional medical rider that you can buy to add to it. It just adds more benefits and more higher limitations on them, but it doesn't give you that full medical coverage when you need to travel. So the other type of insurance we want to talk about is
the global medical insurance.
Yeah. So this is the type of insurance Americans are used to that we have at home, where you have a policy, you have a copay on it, you have a premium on it, you have an annual amount that you can spend, and it covers your chronic illnesses, your critical illnesses, all the things that could happen usually when you need insurance. So we actually have a policy with IMG Global. A lot of your major insurance companies have policies like these. So Cigna has one, Blue Cross Blue Shield has one, IMG has one. Our policy has a $5,000. No, it's catastrophic. It's a $10,000. Is it 5,000 or 10,000? I don't remember now. Anyway,
It's 5,000.
Is it 5,000?
Yeah.
It's a catastrophic policy where the reason why we have it is we want to be in the situation if we're traveling abroad that something acute happens, or something like if we're traveling and we go get a physical and it tells us we have cancer. Well, since we don't have a policy in the U.S., this is the policy that would cover us, right?
Yeah, and again, it's good. It will cover us anywhere in the world, essentially, so that
Except the U.S.
Right, so that if you're in Europe and something happens, you need to see a doctor in Europe. You don't want to be sent back to the United States. You want to see a doctor in Europe. You want to be able to go to a hospital. You want to be able to take care of your medical needs there. The insurance policy covers that.
Right. And often the deductibles are much lower, and the copays are much lower, if any, on these international policies. Now, our policy does not cover the U.S., Singapore, and Taiwan, I think. But you can get global policies that do allow coverage in the U.S. for a certain amount of time. Like if you are full-time travel and you need to come back to the U.S. for a couple weeks every year, you can get policies that cover a minimal amount of time in the U.S. Of course, they're more expensive, but you can do that so that you have one policy that covers you in all the countries. For us, what we do is we will pick up, if we're going to go to a country where the policy doesn't cover us, like Singapore, we pick up just a little policy for a week to cover us for that week that we're there. Now, what did we pay for our IMG Global coverage? Do you remember?
Well, it was a little bit over $200 a month, and that
For both
covered
of us.
Both of us.
Right.
So, compared to that to some of the health insurance policies that you have in the U.S., I know that we had Cobra just before we left the U.S., and that was the extension from my employer. And wow, was that expensive. We would not be able to afford to travel if we had to continue to pay those kinds of premiums.
So at the beginning of the video, I made the shocking statement of, you don't need medical insurance. So let's talk through that just a little bit. As we have traveled around the world, we have had to get medical care. If you followed along, I had to get surgery on my knee. Steve had to get some dental care. We've had a couple little bits and bops here and there, kind of they fall in that wellness category that we needed. I need some chiropractic care and physical therapy.
Complete physicals,
right.
The most extensive physical examination that I've ever had in my life, including chest X-rays and bone scans,
ophthalmology and bone densities and organ
and the key
scans.
is we paid out of pocket for that because it was affordable. It wasn't going to break the bank,
right?
And we didn't use our insurance policies in some of the countries where you get high quality medical care, and you can check this out. I mean, you can go whatever country you're going to, determine what's the quality of medical care in that country. And where would I go to make sure that I have good quality care?
And the surprising thing is, a lot of the websites in these other countries and the hospitals and the doctors, they actually have price lists. You can go and you say, I need a tooth extraction. It will tell you exactly what it costs. I need a triple bypass. It will tell you exactly what it costs. There's no guessing on what it might cost or what it could cost. You don't even have to make a phone call. It just tells you what it will cost. So the reason why we say, you may not need medical care. This is what we mean by that. We have this $5,000 each deductible. So we have to have $5,000 of expenses before the insurance will start paying for it. When we start seeing what some of these procedures or critical procedures cost around the world, we start thinking, well, if we'd have insurance, we'd still have to pay $5,000 anyway before we'd actually have to start paying for the particular events. So like a gallbladder surgery or a kidney stone type of thing, those are probably going to be $5,000 or less as we travel around the world, depending on what country we're in. So sometimes it doesn't make, you kind of think it through, it doesn't make sense to have insurance. Now, I'm not saying don't have insurance, because if I have that twice, then all of a sudden, we're starting to get in an expensive situation that we wish we would have had insurance for.
Yeah, and you ask the question, why do you have insurance? And it's not because, I've got a splinter in my finger and I need to, have it taken care of. It's because something catastrophic is going to happen. Something like, a heart condition or a serious medical issue where you may have some extensive time in the hospital, and you want to make sure that you're covered for those events.
Right, and really the purpose of medical insurance is to reduce the risk of damaging your assets, right? Because you don't want to end up with a $100,000 medical bill that you don't have insurance for, you don't want to pay for. But the point we're trying to make is that $100,000 medical bill that is so easy to get in the U.S. is much more difficult to have in a lot of other countries. And you can catch a flight to go someplace to get cheaper medical coverage and medical repair often as an option to having to have that $100,000 procedure, for example, in the States. So don't hate us. We're not, this is kind of a controversial thing we're saying. We're just trying to point out that medical care around the world is much more affordable and it's not nearly as crazy as expensive and wackadoodle that it is in the United States. And now I'm going to give you an example. If you've been following our channel for a while, you know that I had knee surgery. I had orthoscopic surgery to repair damage in my knee and then had stem cell replacements. Can't even get stem cells for knees in the US right now. The total bill was $10,000. And I expect, and I got it done in Malaysia, and I expected to, I wasn't even thinking about submitting it to my insurance, so I didn't get pre-approval. I did nothing. I went in, I paid cash, put it on my credit card, got the points. It was great. Afterwards, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to submit it to my insurance. If they say no, they say no. But if they say yes, I might be have more money in my pocket. Lo and behold, they ended up paying about 75% of that bill, surprisingly. So with that surgery in the U.S., I don't know, orthoscopic surgery with stem cell replacement, if you could get it, how much do you think that would be? 60,000?
No yeah, I have no
30,000?
Yeah.
More than 10,000.
But I can say that, being the kind of the caregiver here is that, she had multiple days that she was in the hospital. It was a surgical procedure. She had fantastic care. The doctors spoke excellent English. It was very easy to communicate with the nursing staff.
I got PT afterwards.
Right.
It was just, and matter of fact, just this past week, I had a WhatsApp follow-up conversation with him. 8 months later, we're in the States, he's in Malaysia. We had a time zone problem. We adjusted to it, and I had a virtual follow-up with him, no problem. So, yes, you need medical care. We're not telling you to travel around the world without some sort of medical insurance and medical care, but just think through what your premiums are and what your catastrophic thresholds are, and realize that medical care around the world is excellent in a lot of places. The U.S. does not have the best medical care in the world, but it does have probably the most expensive medical care in the world. So ask questions. We have a whole blog post about all of this with even our contact name for our insurance agent if you want to reach out to him, and all this stuff written out with definitions and so on in a blog post. We'll put that also in a link in the description. Talk to you soon, and the next time we see you, we should be in Seattle, no longer cruising around Greenland. I know it doesn't look like Greenland, but we will have had a wonderful 17-day cruise through Greenland and Nova Scotia. Talk to you soon. So we have an IMG medical, international medical policy. How much is our deductible?
It was $5,000.
Okay, let's try that again.
Cheers to $5,000.
We have a international policy with IMG Global. What cup do you have today?
This is just a
sailor.
Simple anchor.
Hey, sailor.
Who's calling me a sailor?
You're on a cruise and you got your sailor cup.
That's right, I do.
How much is our deductible?
It's $5,000 deductible.
Okay, yeah. So $5,000. Big or high, lower, whatever it is. That's what our deductible is on our international medical insurance policy.